Oh You're Lovely, along with Maggie. And today's topic, this one's going to be real.
So
I'm going to let Maggie.
We're going to talk about managing misunderstandings and expectations with family and friends while you own a rather sizable business or a growing business or what have you. This has been an interesting path for Stephanie and I. You know, this is the first time either of us have had a business this big. We both have fairly supportive families, but it's been interesting to see how some of those dynamics unfold as we get bigger or go through stuff or whatever. So we just wanted to talk about it a little bit. And maybe, you know, this is just some tea for you guys and you want to hear a little drama, but hopefully it'll help you also. Who knows? But that's what we're going to talk about today.
So I just have to say first off, because my parents are listening to this, because they're like, I love my parents so much. They're so over the top supportive, which is amazing. They go to, for the most part, are on every single Facebook Live we do. My grandmother likes our ads. I have a very super supportive family. So hi, Mom and Dad. I love you. And to all my family and friends who are going to listen to this, if they do, I love you very much. So this is my truth.
We struggle with this topic a little bit, as where I don't think anybody I personally know will ever listen to this, so I feel a little more comfortable. Okay, I'm going to start with a funny one.
Got to get hydrated for this.
So I'm going to start with a funny one. And going through this, there's some battles I've chosen to fight, and some that I maybe fought it once or twice, and I'm kind of just like, okay, so that's what it is. So this is very minor. It's more humorous than anything, but I have a very beloved business coach. I love him so much. He's one of the only people that I'm not related to that has genuinely taken interest in our business. He does not say the name of our business right. And I, of course, have said stuff a few times, but I've just let it go. And even this last week, you know, he was helping us through some stuff, and he said, "Oh, so lovely" on the phone, and I didn't.
Yep, that's the one I always get too.
I just let it slide off now because, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter at all. He has my back. He has our back. He's so genuine. Exactly. If he can't say my business's name right, I don't fucking care. It's funny at this point.
Yeah. So I would just give him a whole bunch of business cards, so when he recommends us, he's actually giving the right name. You should probably do that.
I should probably do that. Be like, here you go. Maybe circle
because people are going to search it and not be able to find it because he gave the wrong name.
So that's kind of a funny, lighthearted one. I think some of these we might not end up talking about for a while. You know, we might not go down a rabbit hole, but just things we run into. We definitely both have family that have no idea what we actually do. There's a huge misconception of what we do for work. A lot of people think we make wreaths and bouquets and arrangements, which couldn't be further from the truth because we don't do that at all. So that's one we've both had to deal with. Getting asked, can you make X, Y, and Z? Or it can be uncomfortable because you never want to tell anybody no. And we can make those things, but it's not what we do for our profession. We don't make finished things.
And I'm going to say this. I think in the future, we're talking 10, 20 years down the road when I'm cute little old lady with my fancy chickens and retired. And I'm saying 10, 20 years. It might, 10, 20 years, maybe. Hopefully sooner. But if I retire and I have time and the skills that I have acquired over my years, yeah, I'll for sure make things. No problem. Last minute. I'm happy to do so. I don't have the time and I wish I did, but then I wouldn't have the business that I have. If I had that time, then I wouldn't be running this business the way that we are. So I'm getting it less and less, but when we first started for sure, was getting requests quite a lot for different things. maybe we'll go down this rabbit hole now just to get it out of the way. So, and Maggie and I talked about this right before we went live, or started recording. So it's fresh in my mind. But basically, I have a fairly large family. My mom's side of the family is a old school farm family with an insane amount of children. And then my dad's is a little bit smaller, but still we have larger families. I have a lot of cousins. I have a lot of aunts and uncles. And I'm lucky enough to have both my grandparents, like both sets of grandparents still. I have a lot of weddings happening within the last like 5 years, but especially recently, because I'm on my dad's side of the family, I'm the oldest cousin. And on my mom's side of the family, I'm somewhere in the mid to upper range of age. So I have a lot of my younger cousins right now getting married. I have some other family members that are either being remarried and things like that. So I get asked to do flowers all the time. And I will not do family or flowers for my family. Because if I do it for one, if I don't offer, or if I don't have the time to do it for somebody else, it would be a lot worse as far as, well, why did you do it for so-and-so, but you can't do it for me, or you like them better. I don't think it would be like you like them better than me, but it would just be uncomfortable. People would be hurt.
Yeah. And
it would be very uncomfortable. So it's now a joke on the one side of the family that only my grandmother gets things from me. However, my grandma will not let me just give it to her. She has to pay me. That's how she is. Like, she gave me gift cards one year because I was like, I'm not charging you anything. You're my grandmother. And she's just like, no, you're getting something for it. So, and then my parents, I actually have to stop because my mother, who I love dearly, she keeps things out year round. It's an ongoing joke in our family. She'll keep things out year round. So if I make her a Christmas wreath, there is a chance that I will visit her in spring and it's still up. So actually, no, I take that back. There is one wreath that I made her for Christmas one year that has been in their living room ever since. So her house is filled. Mom, right. I can make you a new piece. You can donate too. It won't hurt my feelings. I'll make you another one. So I make them stuff quite a bit. My dad has a whole bunch of the stuff I've made too. So that's one of their ways of being super supportive. But yes, they have more than enough. So I have to start coming up with different gift ideas. So I say no a lot to people. I also, I had one, I won't go into complete details, but it was a little disheartening as far as the time frame that was given to me when asked if I would do something. It was very last minute. It was a lot of stuff. And that hurt in terms of
Steph, there's an entitlement with that transaction of like, oh, I can just ask Steph, there's only this much time. It'll be fine. I think for you and I, that probably hurts more than a lot of things because there's this misunderstanding of what our life really is like and like how crazy things are, and that there's just this like, oh, it'll be fine. She's just in her studio playing with flowers all day, which is so far from the reality of like what Steph does all day.
Which is also, I mean, at the same time, and I know it's the same for a lot of people, like you only see what people show, just how like stressful and time consuming this business really is. I make it look easy. I make it look fun. I make it look like, oh, it's just she hops on Facebook Live or she hops on a YouTube and she makes the tutorial. And couldn't she just make a tutorial out of what I'm asking for or whatever else? I had to also step back a little bit and realize, she probably doesn't really know what my day-to-day looks like. But it still hit a little bit that it was just like, man. Which also in turn has made me not so much my family, because I have some family members who are creative, but there's not many people have, nobody. I'm trying to roll this back to make sure I'm not making a statement that's not true, but I'm pretty sure nobody in my family runs a
creative
type of small
sure,
business
sure.
like we do, as far as the type of the creative type thing. I do have some family members who run their own businesses, but not in this kind of wheelhouse. But I try, when with friends in particular, not to be just assuming of their time and things like that. If anything, I sometimes pay my friends more than what they're asking for. I do that with my sister, actually. I take that. My sister is an amazing artist. And she'll charge me like next to nothing for a piece of artwork. So now whenever she does that, I just tip her like probably double what she charged me for the piece, because I also want her to, value her skills. So with friends and family, it's definitely made me go, oh, this isn't a quick, like, I'm not going to cheap out and demand or ask for something thinking, oh, this is a way I can do it for the cheap. No, if I'm reaching out to a friend, I'm going to give them an insane amount of time and a very, very fair budget for what it is. So there's, I love all my family. Please don't hate me.
I mean, this is reality. Like,
I see them soon.
Feelings too, you have feelings. I have feelings. Like, our feelings are important. Okay, so this next one might be hard to understand, but it's something I've struggled with a couple of times, and actually recently. I think people see, and again, people only see what we share. And neither of us share a lot on our personal Facebook pages or Instagram. So I can understand how there can be a disconnect.
I don't even have a personal Instagram. The only Instagram I have is our business.
People only see what we put out there. And I understand that there's some sort of responsibility that falls back on us in regards to that. But I've had a couple instances this last year where somebody from my past, like a close friend, that I have tried to connect with over the last few years, that all of a sudden, like, I'll have post something like, I graduated from that business group. I'll get a message being like, oh, when are you going to be around again? I'd really like to hang out with you. And this has happened a couple of times. And in my head, I'm like, okay, I've tried to get in touch with you 4 times over the last 5 years. You've read my messages and haven't responded. And now that on Facebook, it looks like I'm really successful, you want to talk to me. I don't like that, you guys. It makes me feel so gross, because I am not the success of this business. I just participate in the business. I'm still the same person that was trying to get hold of these people 4 years ago, and they didn't want to talk to me. And I didn't, in these situations, I decided to not directly have a conversation about it with the people, but I also did not see them. So there was a conversation, but I didn't take it to the point of like, okay, yeah, let's get together. Because it just felt gross to me. Like, I'm the same person I was 15 years ago when we were hanging out. I'm not, nothing has changed about me. I wear the same clothes and the same earrings and do my hair the same way. I'm literally the same person.
This is true.
And yes, I've made it through some trials and tribulations as being a business owner, but I'm literally this, and it just felt gross to me. And again, it's kind of a weird thing to talk about, but like, we're being honest on this podcast. Like, I have struggled with that.
I've flat out told people, I can remember a time where I got asked to like, oh, let's grab a cup of coffee and I can pick your brain. No. Are you going to pay me a consulting fee? Because our relationship, now it depends. Like, if it was my best friend of all friends, which is Maggie, so it doesn't matter.
Yes, that's different. If you're in the core, if you're like a brother, sister, mother, father, BFFFF, you're going to get the best of us. But we both hold on to our core. And Stephanie, kind of segueing into what you said, I don't know if you'll remember this, and we're definitely not going to mention the name, but a few years ago, pre-COVID, we did hire somebody I was friends with, and it came clear very quickly their intentions were to learn from us and not better our business. It fell apart within 2 weeks, and it's fine. Everything ended in an okay way. We all still talk to each other and whatever, but I don't like being poached or taken advantage of. if it comes from hiring a friend or just having conversations like Steph was saying, like, oh yeah, let's get coffee and I'm going to pick your brain. That's what this person basically did here, was like, can you show me how to do X, Y, and Z, even though it had nothing to do with their job, and making comments like, oh, I'm going to learn so much. Okay, but that's not why we hired you. We hired you for the skill set you have that you can help us with. And it just feels gross. It just
I would
feels
hope,
yucky.
and I
I don't
think
know.
again, every
Like,
situation I've had in life helps me learn to be a better person going forward to how I want to treat other people. My hope is too that if I, for whatever reason, feel that I have a relationship with somebody, that I could be like, hey, let's get coffee and let me pick your brain, and they did not reciprocate that way, and it hurt their feelings, that I could recognize and not get upset at the reaction, as far as like, oh, maybe that was outside of what our, and I don't want to say we put people in boxes, but there's kind of like, this box gets treated this way. Like, you do different things with that person versus like a very casual friendship. Now, I have some friends who are, we solely talk about is business. Like, that's our thing. And we don't talk about personal stuff. So it would be a person for me to reach out and like talk about some really hard stuff. And they'd be like, what? Why are you?
right. But that's your relation.
Right.
But that's your relationship with that person. It's not somebody who you used to
Right.
crochet blankets with,
Yeah.
or you know what I'm
And
saying? Like,
I'm
it's just
still
a
kind of
completely
working
different
on just being
relationship.
okay with the fact of having different relationships with different people, and it's not a bad thing. Like, it's not like I should not be expected to have to, or expected to treat, and I don't like the word treat, but do things for people the same way I would for my sister or for my children.
No matter what.
Like,
Yes.
there's different relationships,
Yeah.
and so it's okay to have boundaries. I feel like our podcast is all about boundaries and consistency and communication. Those are the three big
Yeah.
things in our lives, to just kind of better ourselves and be able to get through like hard stuff. But yeah, just having boundaries with people is not a bad thing. I think sometimes it takes a little bit of the right tact in order to present those boundaries so that you don't hurt somebody.
Yes.
But being true to yourself is really important as well. So, but yeah, I don't like having someone just pick my brain unless it's a mutual pick your brain kind of session, or it's somebody that you already have that relationship with. Then yeah, I would absolutely, let's figure out a time that we can meet up. But if it's out of the blue and we haven't talked for 3 years and you want to pick my brain, okay.
And I will tell you that because we're in the position we are now and we don't like those situations, I've caught myself a couple of times, especially very recently, where I wanted to reach out to
Right.
XYZ business owner and be like, could we talk about this,
Right.
when I know that relationship isn't there, but I know they'd have the answers. I've caught myself and haven't gone there,
Right.
but I've wanted to. But I know now you just don't,
Yeah.
it's not
Or you build
okay
that
sometimes.
relationship so that you can. But if that's the only reason why you want to
Right.
build a relationship, either, that's pretty shitty.
Then it's not
Yeah.
right either. That's exactly. So, I've had the thoughts myself, and very recently, even last week, I was like, "Oh man, I wish I could talk to these two women who own this business here in Charlotte," and but I knew it
It's
wasn't.
not the time and
Like, it's just
place.
not.
And a lot of the business, I
No,
know,
no. So I
competitive.
didn't do
When
it.
it comes to the business stuff too, that's where networking comes involved. That's where having like, there's all sorts of breakfasts and lunches and dinners that you can have with other business people
Yes.
who are open, because that's why they're there.
Yeah.
It's different when you're
Yeah.
reaching out to somebody who you have
Yeah.
a minor relationship with and want to, it's just,
Right.
oh.
All right. So this next one is might get a little heavy because I think I'm
Okay.
going to share a pretty hard story that
Do
I
you have
recently
tissues?
went through. So another misconception, because
Okay.
no, it's all right. Another misconception, and I don't know, I think Stephanie, you've maybe have dealt with some of this, but maybe not. Again, we realize people only see what we share, and that's if they run across what we share. There is definitely people in my life who think I'm swimming in money, and that could not be further from the truth. Completely transparent with you guys. The way Stephanie and I have chose to run this business, we're paying our personal bills, but like we wanted to grow the business, so we put a ton back into the business. I don't even have health insurance. So that's how financially sound my adult life is right now. I am not swimming in money. I don't care that we have a 7-figure business. And people think like, oh my God, Maggie must be like getting her house on the lake and her, boat. And my life is really, really, really not like that. Stephanie's life is really, 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 really not like that. I think when you get to a certain point of business and you are forthcoming that, oh, your business is XYZ size. And we decided to do that this year. So we could do the podcast and just be a little more transparent where we are. But it looks certain ways to certain people. There's a lot of preconceived notions that go with hearing that amount of money.
It's not in our pockets.
We don't have designer handbags. It's not in our pockets. It's back in the business, so we can keep
and paying our employees and everybody else. Yeah, we do not have. We both are not splitting 7 figures every year. Gosh,
no,
it's not happening.
No, we are not. So if you've been following around on social media at all, if you're in our group, you may have seen that I'm like super struggling this year. Lots of reasons, but I had a very gross, big situation happen in regards to money, and I am going to talk about it a little bit. And I want to say that through talking to some other people in the business world in my area, somebody actually went through almost the exact same thing. And that's why I want to share it, is because I don't think it's very uncommon.
I could tell you a story if we really want to. Yeah.
So somebody very, 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 very close to me was going through something very bad that was a self-made issue over a very long time, and threatened to kill themselves, threatened to unlive themselves, whatever you want to say. And because of my closeness to this person, I offered to help with a very clear agreement about the amount of money and what was going to happen. Gave this person more than half of my life savings. Again, they were threatening to take their own lives. Thought we had a very clear agreement, and they chose not to pay me back the money. And I'm sharing this again because through talking to other people, it's not that uncommon. Somebody I'm business friends with went through almost the same thing with the same relationship in their lives. And I've learned a lot through the experience, and taking it away from how does this wrap into business. But I think when somebody is at rock bottom like that, a lot of things can happen. There's manipulation that happens. And also when you scoop them up and help, you're taking away their actual rock bottom. So this person in my life didn't have to hit their actual rock bottom.
You gave her a net.
Because
you gave them a
net in to save them. And I actually think that did more harm. Not just because I lost all that money, but because they didn't have to go there. And for them to like get out of this hole that's been years in the making, they really needed to go there. So I'm crushed because this relationship is broken. My money is gone. They didn't have to hit rock bottom, so they didn't learn the lessons they should have. And this would not have happened if we wouldn't have had as a successful business as we do. Because I don't think this person would have even thought, oh, let me threaten this because I know she's going to help me. Very sticky. I know it's a very heavy story to tell, but like that's part of what I've been going through this year. And it still feels gross, and I still lose sleep, and I still feel super guilty that all that money is gone now. It happens though. And I think the moral of the story is like, pay attention to those patterns in your life, and maybe people coming to you more than they used to, and just try to keep mental tabs on maybe questioning, and also questioning people's intentions more. I should have saw through the writing on the wall, and I just didn't. And I should have, but I've learned my lesson now.
It's tough. And I think too, there's a reason why the saying "don't go into business with family" is one of those things. And I know this wasn't a business transaction, but it was still one of those things. Like, money, unfortunately, can ruin the best of relationships. And it's typically one person is taking advantage of the other person, either their kindness, their love for you, whatever it is. And it's a lot of manipulation, and it's rough. It's very rough, and it can completely break.
You don't have to be the knight riding in on their stallion. You don't have to play that role, because again, I think I took an experience away from this person.
As hard as it was going to be.
Yes, as hard as it was going to be, but it was a self-made problem, and they needed to experience the end result of that self-made problem.
There's one thing when it's,
and I took that away.
One thing when it's like, oh, I would love you to loan me money for a business. And then they give you all of the things and blah, 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 blah. And you do, and it doesn't work out. That can also ruin a relationship potentially, but that's very different.
That's very different.
It's very different. But yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, it's really tough. And it's hard to try to help somebody by not helping them. I mean, that's because then you feel horrible about it.
Yes.
But it is not the bed that you made. Yes. They made that bed, and unfortunately, sometimes you have to lay in it to be able to figure it out and get out of it. So,
and it's really easy saying those things, and I say them to myself. But when it was happening in my head, I was like, if I don't, and this person does do what they're saying they're going to do, will I ever forgive myself? And that's what I kept saying over and over again. And I wish I would have went to have the conversation with these business people before I did it, because I know this person would be like, I just went through this. Don't do it. Here's why you should.
Well, there's also fear and shame, and that's a really heavy thing to talk to somebody about too. I mean, there's judgment sometimes on those kind of conversations on both ways. Either somebody telling you, well, why wouldn't you, versus don't. Yeah, it's a tough conversation to have, and you feel very alone in that kind of situation, especially in the situation that you were put in. For sure, put you in a very isolating kind of place, and took a huge advantage of the entire situation.
I still get sick over it.
It's still very fresh, though.
5 months ago, and I'm not.
It's still very fresh. Yeah.
I'm not sure when I'm going to be completely over it. It might take me a while, but anyways, like I think it's important. Again, people only see what we put out there and only hear what we say, but it's really easy for people to build their own idea of what having a 7-figure business means, or what this means. You only know your reality, and you gotta have the boundaries, or it makes things really difficult. And you don't need things to be difficult, It's just weird. And it's kind of weird to talk about, because it's like, okay, all this really has happened. We've been through some weird situations, and I wouldn't have had to be through certain situations if I worked for somebody else. It just wouldn't have happened. There's just, I don't know. It's weird. This is kind of weird part of owning a business. It's like dealing with other people's idea of you, or what
they're owed to you for just being somebody that's in your life. As far as it's again an entitlement thing, which is a really weird. It's weird to be like, I don't know if this is going to come off really weird. I've always had the biggest fear of winning the lottery, because of the fact of the amount of people that are going to ask me for that money. So I don't play the lottery, because I'm like, I don't want to tell somebody no and then ruin a relationship because they're like, well, you have $5 billion. Like, it's weird. Because I just, money and family and friends is really hard. Well, and plus I would be like, all of it's going back into, oh, you're lovely. And my husband's going to be like, excuse me? Like, what are you talking about?
Well, I think about winning the lottery a lot. And I'm like, oh, I'd have to put this into, oh, you're lovely in this. But it's funny you have a fear of it. But it makes sense, though, because...
So, like...
Yeah,
we can lighten the mood just slightly. I'll tell a funny story. Kind of funny. I won't call them out. They might know who they are. But at one point I had to block somebody that is within well, how do I want to word this? I had to block somebody that's in my life. Do you remember this, Maggie?
Oh, yeah.
It was, okay. It was, I don't remember what the post was, but said person decided to comment, and it was not very professional or appreciated the way that it was put on our business page. And the problem I have too is it's not just my business, it's also Maggie's business, and that is going to affect not just me but also her. And I become mama bear when it comes to the protection of our business. And so I had to block that person because I was, come on, like, this is my livelihood. I would hope that somebody in the position that they were in my life would recognize that that's not all right. So it was just easier to just not let them be able to post anything so that I didn't have to deal with that again, because we have had conversations and it was going to be another difficult conversation.
Has this person brought it up in person since that happened?
No, we've had other head-to-heads on different things, but that has not been brought up.
So
or
look,
pointed
you guys,
out or
she
anything
blocked
like that.
this person and they haven't even brought it up to her. And it's been a couple years already. And they have seen each other in person. So, it's okay.
Yes.
This person probably knows exactly what they did. It's probably not even a surprise that they got blocked.
Probably not. I can be very, very nice, but I could also be very strict about, again, boundaries. Like, if there's a certain line and you've crossed it, and now the damage is done, and I'm gonna fix it to how I feel comfortable. And it was just easier to block the person in that situation. Like, they're not our customer. There was no reason anyway to be engaging.
It was minor that type of behavior. Like, it really was kind of trollish behavior. Which there's no place for that when you're selling beautiful craft supplies. No. There's no reason. It doesn't matter if it's somebody you know or I know or somebody we don't know. Like, there's no reason to troll anything.
Exactly. And I mean, I would do it to anybody. So it's one of those, like, if you do any kind of post like that, we're gonna block you from the page. Yeah. So it didn't even, in some ways was just like, if it was anybody else, I would have done the same thing in that situation. So I didn't feel bad about it, but it is rather humorous to me.
Mm-hmm. This has definitely been a weird podcast one, but it's just some of those odd things you don't think about that, we didn't anticipate and we've run into in the last 4 years. And it's fine. Yeah. Like, we haven't made any enemies. Well, the last person I was talking about, that person might.
You don't have you're not going to have a relationship with that person.
Other than that, like, it's okay to have boundaries. I think, people are still kind of fluffy in this world, especially with women and business, being a woman business owner. You should have boundaries. You're only going to benefit yourself and your business and your family. And you don't have to share anything you don't want to share. You don't have to take any little jobs you don't want to take. It's okay to say no. No is a full sentence. We probably should say that in every podcast. No is a full sentence.
Full sentence. Full stop. No is a full sentence. That's all you have to say. And I'll say this too. Just because we have these types of boundaries does not mean that you have to. Like, if you enjoy and you have the time that you can do a last minute whatever for whoever, like, I've done things. Now there is one piece I've done outside of or like has been requested by a family member, and that was a memorial piece for somebody who had passed away. Like, I get to pick and choose. Yes, it's a little bit different. Like, I get to pick and choose what and I want to honor my time with. And not that anybody in my family, that their weddings are not important. They are 100%. It's just, I cannot, because I know what the snowball will be from that afterwards. Yeah. And also, I don't want people to feel like they have to, once I do like one or two, that they're like, oh, I have to ask Stephanie to do them. Right. Otherwise she'll be offended. Right. So it's not just about me. I'm also looking out for everybody else's feelings too. But just because my boundaries are that strict, and they weren't always, and they might not be later on, but this is where I'm at as far as all of that goes.
It's your life and it's your time, and we're the only ones who get to make decisions with our time. And
exactly.
And
time is the only thing you can't get back. Like, once it's gone, it's gone. So it's
I do wonder a little
And if
bit.
I can't turn it into content, I'm not going to do it.
I do wonder a little bit if people just in general struggle with boundaries like we do, or if we're kind of not the norm because we are people pleasers. And some of this just might stem from us being people pleasers and not being comfortable, like saying no, but we both struggle with it. We both want everybody to be happy.
I feel like do you feel like the older we get though, the more it's easier to say?
Yes, I do.
I do too.
Yes, I do.
Because if we would have started this business when I was in like my late 20s, early 30s, the amount of things I would be doing for everybody else besides focusing on my business would have been completely different. I'm really glad we started it when we did and had our lives established the way they were. You're much more self-aware, I feel like, too, and you know what time you have. I mean, it's not just the business. The business is a huge part of our daily lives and is the baby, basically, that needs a ton of nurture and time. But we also have children that we're raising.
Yes, we have
like, there's other things going on in our lives that, unfortunately, we can't dedicate, like, the time for somebody else. And that when it comes to the making stuff, that's not my livelihood. Like, if I was making arrangements for a living like I was before the business, absolutely, I would be charging all my family members.
Advice, or if we were offering workshops and giving advice, then sure, like that might, but we don't.
But I will be charging you because that's what I'm choosing to use as my livelihood. I might give a family and friends discount. Like, you might be able to ask for a coupon code and I might throw you one over your way type thing, but I'm not. I have 5 kids to feed. I don't have time to do anything for free anymore. I sound like such a bitch. That's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the truth.
Stephanie, I'm kind of tired from this conversation. I'm feeling emotionally drained. I don't think I can talk about much more. It's a lot, and it's something we just don't talk about very much, But
I have a feeling it'll be brought up at a family get together for me soon.
Well,
either they're gonna laugh at me or they're gonna give me full shit.
If you're listening to this and you're related to me and you've gotten this far, you need to send me a message because I don't think anybody I'm related to is going to listen to this. And if they do, I would like to know.
Challenge accepted.
All right. And as always, you guys, if you have topics you want us to talk about or questions,
feedback,
email at podcast@yourelovely.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. We love when you guys leave comments. We're pretty much an open book. We'll talk about almost anything. We're not going to talk about
as this episode shows.
Right. And it doesn't, if you guys want to know things that don't even have to do with business, like want to talk about family stuff or whatever, just let us know. We'll talk about almost
being women in business. Did we already have that conversation?
I don't know, but I know we should. I don't know if we really have. If we do, I would like to share the story about when we were looking at a new place to rent and how difficult that was because that was women.
I was just telling somebody that story recently.
I'm still bitter.
Okay, well.
But whatever.
That was a fun one. Whatever.
All right, ladies.
All right, I think that's it for today, and I think we have another topic to talk about coming up soon. So we post these podcasts usually about every other week. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, if you're enjoying these, and we will talk to you and see you very soon. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.